Here's the two most important questions of your subjective assessment. I'm Jack from Physio Matters, and a lot of the time you won't have been asking them at all. First, an admission. What constitutes most important is of course my opinion, and inviting someone to tell their story and taking a thorough medical history are vital. But the questions that often make or break my results are ones that tease out the patient's beliefs and expectations. So the first of my most important questions is, so what do you think the problem is? Their answer may well have come out in a general conversation, but I always come back to it at the end of the subjective. Let's not shy away from how awkward this question can be sometimes though. The patient wants to know your expert opinion and often doesn't expect you to be particularly interested in theirs, so hedge your question a little bit. Obviously it's my job today to work that out, but what's your hunch? Sometimes they resist or haven't perhaps given it much thought, but I still want to know, so I probe further. I ask because like friends, family, colleagues, they can often weigh in with their best guess. So if I had a gun to your head, what would you go for?
Okay, well I've overpronated and it's twisted my pelvis and it's given me piriformis syndrome.
So I'll explain how this influences my reasoning and behaviour at the end. But the second most important question is, so what do you think you need to get better? You may also need to torture them into answering again, but they'll usually crack.
I need some overpronating insoles and an elbow in my ass.
So why are these questions and their answers so important to me? Because beliefs and expectations often really matter. Sometimes they're pretty benign and loosely held, but sometimes what you explain as a diagnosis and treatment plan needs to be better argued than the patient's existing narrative. Alongside this, the patient so often brings up something that you haven't considered or given much weight to up until then. So understanding what is informing their opinion is hugely valuable. Through no fault of their own, patients can over time develop a perception of their problem that defies physics, biology and therefore logic. You would much rather know this at the end of your subjective assessment than at the end of your third follow-up where the unconvinced patient then explains that they'd like referring for the insoles and elbows.